The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of either Spectrum Generations or Time Warner Cable. Mature Lifestyle is made possible by Knowlton Hewins Roberts Funeral Homes and Cremation Service. Our homes are warm and welcoming, and we take care of you and your family like we would our own. Call us anytime. We are here for you.
Hello, welcome to Mature Lifestyle. Spectrum Generations is so pleased to bring you programs that are of interest to all of us, and today is no exception. Well, it's been a long winter. We're certainly excited about the growing season, and I have two experts here to tell us, even if you have a small space, you can grow great things. And of course, they're from the Cooperative Extension of the University of Maine, so they're professionals and they know things. We have Cara Fitzgerald and Crystal Hamilton. Both are specialists in the nutrition side, but I'm sure she knows a whole lot more than that, so we're going to pick her brains on that. And you are an expert in container gardening, and first of all, you're going to have to explain to us what that is. But before we do, I'd like to know a little bit about how you two got into those pretty blue shirts and how you got to belong to the University of Maine. Would you like to tell me about your background a little bit?
Sure. I grew up in northern Maine. I grew up in Presque Isle.
All right.
And when I was in college, I had a chance to work for the Presque Isle Extension Office as an integrated pest management scout. And I liked.
All right, wait a minute. What is an integrated pest management scout?
I counted bugs.
All right, you counted bugs.
So I and a partner drove all over the northern part of Aroostook County, and we visited commercial potato farms.
And that's very much a part of our agricultural scene, isn't it? To keep up with the things that can cause us problems. Okay, so that's where you started, and you got promoted here, it looks like.
Well, there are a lot of steps in between, but what I found I really liked was I liked making science relevant and applicable to people who were in business using scientific techniques, so farmers, and also helping to help people understand the natural world around them.
Right, and you found the Cooperative Extension just a natural fit for you, didn't you? Because tell me what the Extension does.
So we provide educational programs in all sorts of areas. In my area, I work with commercial farmers and home gardeners, and I help them increase their productivity, their profitability, and their sustainability so they can work well within the environment.
And so a would-be farmer, home farmer, small one, how would they learn more about what you have to offer? Hopefully they'll watch you here on the television show, but then what?
Yeah, well, one of the great places to start is with our website, which is extension.umaine, so that's UMAINE.edu.
All right.
They can also call our local office, but we have offices all around the state. We serve every county in the state of Maine.
So there's an office in every county, so there's a place to go for information, whether it's online or in person. There are people like you willing to help people who want to get started.
Yes, absolutely.
That does sound exciting.
Yes.
And you, my dear, how did you get into this business?
My background is in education.
Yes.
I taught adult ed when I was in the service, and I am a certified elementary school teacher.
Okay.
So the education part attracted me to Cooperative Extension. I was formerly a nutrition associate, which meant I go out and do outreach in our local communities to income eligible populations. Seniors, working in schools, working with Head Start parents, and just teach them about nutrition and budgeting, menu planning, food safety. It's all kind of rolled into one big ball.
And people can get access to you the same way.
The same way,
extension.umaine. And that's very important. It seems that we finally are seeing the light and concentrating more on good nutrition. I mean, we have phases when we talk about it, but now it seems to have really risen. This fresh vegetables, all of these things, we know what a big difference it makes. So, talk to us a bit. I see you have some interesting things on hand.
Sure.
First, tell us what container gardening is. I mean, sounds like I know, but probably don't.
So sometimes people think about gardening as having to be plants growing in the ground, but with container gardening, you're growing in containers. Sometimes they're purchased pots, sometimes there are other containers that you make yourself. But it's a really nice way to be able to garden in a small space, or if you don't feel like tackling a large area of your garden, or if your soils aren't suitable to gardening in the ground, then it's a great option. And I am really excited about helping people understand how to grow food in container gardens.
Okay, so it isn't just the beautiful plants that we all like to have to
That's
brighten
right.
up our apartments, our small houses, or whatever, but it's also the food. We can actually eat what we grow.
That's right.
All right, so give me an example of, can we grow tomatoes?
You can.
Love tomatoes.
Tomatoes are a great choice, and I think that for people who especially used to garden in larger areas and maybe
Yes.
have downsized,
Okay.
still want to garden, tomatoes in Maine are the plant to
Yum.
grow.
So sometimes you just don't feel doing all the bending. Sometimes we get a little older and we're not able to do the kind of gardening we did before, but it doesn't mean we have to stop. So
Absolutely.
you say tomatoes are a good choice?
Tomatoes are a good choice. One of the big issues with tomatoes is people often try to put them in too small of a container.
Okay.
So I brought a few different types of
Right.
containers with me, and I'll show you. This is the size, kind of the minimum size for a tomato plant. This is a very old
One tomato
container.
plant,
One
okay.
tomato plant, at least 5 gallons,
5
of,
gallons.
of volume is needed,
Okay.
and at least 12 inches of depth, preferably
Okay.
deeper.
'Cause
To
they need the roots and the.
Absolutely. And remember, with something like tomatoes, they do need full sun. So you would want preferably 8 hours of full sun for them to fruit. You might be able to get away with as little as 6. If you have shady areas, then other plants would be a better choice. But for tomatoes, full sun,
Full sun
and a
and
5
a
gallon
large
container.
And what do you put in there? Is there special soil, special growing materials that one needs?
That's a great question. So the proper potting material is also very important. This is a sample of potting mix. These are available commercially. Usually these potting mixes are based with peat moss
Right.
and with some other materials. This has perlite in it also. Some are compost based. But it's very important not to use soil from your garden
Okay.
in a container because it's too heavy. It doesn't drain well enough.
And this is much lighter.
This is much, much lighter. It's very, very dry and fluffy. You would wet it before you
And
fill
that's
the
true
container.
of all these containers you're talking about, not
Right.
just the large one for tomatoes.
Right,
but-
all containers should be, you should use typically a sterile potting mix.
And should you use the same soil year after year? Or do you
It's-
change it each year? Or?
It's best to change it each year. It does get pretty hard and crusty, and they will be full of old roots, assuming your plants grew
of
well.
course.
And so fresh soil or fresh potting mixture is very important. It's also important to clean the containers if you're reusing them. You can see, so this is a smaller container for, perhaps one lettuce plant or a Swiss chard. You can see that even though I've brushed it out, so it would look better.
The size, this
Yep.
would hold one lettuce plant,
Yep.
one Swiss chard.
Yep.
Okay.
Or you could have a very
So I think
large-
it gives us a good sense of how large a container you have to have for them to
Yes.
plants to have what they need to grow.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you do choose to reuse your containers, such as this, you want to make sure that you sterilize it with a bleach solution, so 1 part bleach to 9 parts of water. In case there are any diseases, soil-borne diseases, it will clean them out.
All right. So recycling is a good thing. Just
Yes.
clean it up first.
Absolutely.
But not
That's right.
recycle the soil. Let's get new,
Right.
new potting soil each time. And the tomatoes, for example, might segue a little bit into you're encouraging people to eat more veggies, and homegrown veggies have got to be clean and safe. Talk a little bit about the nutrition side of container gardening.
We encourage people to eat the rainbow. So, of
good.
course, a tomato is a great example of a red fruit or vegetable. All of our rainbow vegetables have different properties that work together to be health enhancing, which as people age, their immune systems often become more vulnerable. So one of the things that tomatoes are good for is that it can, the things that are in it can help lower blood pressure and reduce tumor growth. And it
Wow.
can also work on your LDL cholesterol levels. So tomatoes are a great thing for that.
So who knew something so good for you could be fun to grow
Right.
and good for your health? Better than a pill, isn't it?
Better than a pill, much better than a pill.
I'm going to ask her another question. So we plant this tomato. You start with a seedling, I assume. You get it at
Yes.
a greenhouse or
Yes.
someplace, or maybe you started it yourself if you have a
Right.
place to do that. How long before the fruit is ready for me to eat?
Well, usually our tomatoes, we'll transplant them at the end of May or
Okay.
early June. And it's usually sometime in August.
You have to be patient.
most of us. You have to be very patient. Yes.
Something
yes.
to look forward to.
But yes, it is. But often the varieties that are well suited to containers, especially for tomatoes, often they're cherry tomatoes or smaller statured tomatoes.
Okay,
And
that's
so-
good to know. You can't necessarily grow every kind
Right,
well,
right.
but better for the smaller tomatoes, you say?
Yes.
For the containers.
Yeah. Often they're marketed as patio tomatoes, or in a seed catalog you'll see a little pot icon that indicates that it's
What-
well suited for containers.
So there's always help when you're trying to select the
Yes.
appropriate thing.
Yep.
All right, we've got tomatoes to eat from you. What else do you like for her to grow in her pots? Let's see if she can do it.
She mentioned lettuce and Swiss chard,
Yes.
so your dark green leafy
part
vegetables
of the rainbow.
are a great addition for your diet. Spinach especially has so many things that
Any green leafy you recommend?
and the darker the better.
The darker the
and
better.
that's with any vegetable or fruit. The darker the color means that the phytochemicals that are in it are more intense.
So spinach as opposed to lettuce, maybe. It's darker usually, maybe not always, but
And it's according to
Or
what type
kale
of
or-
lettuce too. Kale is another great example. You don't, iceberg lettuce is kind of not much as far as nutrients, but when you go to your spinaches and your kales, that dark, intense color indicates that there's more nutrients in it.
okay, I'm going back to my container again.
Yeah.
So I have to wait till August for those tomatoes. And how many will it produce? Will it just be one meal or?
Oh, well,
No.
the number really depends on the type of tomato, but once they start producing, you should have a fairly steady
Okay.
supply of tomatoes through
Really?
till frost. Yes.
Wow. Well, then go with the lettuces and that sort of thing. You said this pot would hold maybe one lettuce.
Yep.
And so with lettuce, you just cut off the top, break off the top. What's
Well,
the best way to harvest your
Yeah,
product here?
and it depends on the type of lettuce. So head lettuces, so like an iceberg, like Crystal mentioned, those aren't well suited to containers.
Okay.
But leaf
So
lettuce.
that's good because they're not as good for the nutrition, so you're going to get
Right.
the better one. Leaf lettuce is good.
Yeah,
and
leaf
yummy.
lettuce is good, and you can just cut the outside leaves. Same thing with spinach, which is a great choice for containers also.
And then it just keeps coming back.
Yep, as long as you've got to keep it watered and give it some fertilizer also to
Talk
make
about
sure.
that. What does it? The soil doesn't have fertilizer in it
Most
already.
of these potting mixes don't come with any fertilizer. Some do, so you have to check the mixture.
Okay.
But generally, you will be looking at adding some liquid, so a soluble fertilizer every 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks.
And
okay.
Well,
Yes, please.
so this is an example. This is an organically acceptable material, and what you want to look at on any fertilizer material is on the front. There are 3 numbers. So it's 322, and that has to do with the percentages of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And you want a fertilizer that's fairly equal in those numbers. This is derived from fish and seaweed, so it's all natural products. And it's dissolved in water, and then you would water that on the soil.
So everything you're getting out of here is safe and healthy to eat, including the fertilizer you put on. It's an organic fertilizer. You're just talking about the balance that's needed to help the plant grow.
Exactly, yes.
And that gets us more nutrition, doesn't it, from the plants that we're doing. And I'm really intrigued by the fact that we can continue to enjoy this for several months.
Oh,
And
yes.
How about lettuce? How soon would we get the lettuce?
Well, lettuce, if it were in...
Faster.
Yeah, if it were in, you could have that in containers now. Spinach would be even better because that's very tolerant to cold weather. And that's really nice because you can grow it early in the season, have it out in a small container, say on the railing of a deck. And you can also grow it late into the fall. And with containers, say for spinach, you might have a couple of plants in a container this size. And if the weather is looking bad and you might get a hard frost, you can just bring it inside.
Bring it inside.
For the overnight, and then set it back outside, and then you can continue to harvest it so that you have the benefit of that great nutrition for many, many months.
Wonderful idea, and we will come back with more in just a few moments. Please stay with us and we'll learn more about container gardening from these 2 wonderful guests. We'll be right back.
Who do you want to meet? Where do you want to go? What do you want to see? You'll find it on TWC TV Channel 9. We're in your community, providing the programming you want. It's free, it's local, and it's only on Time Warner Cable's TWC TV.
Spectrum Generations. Live healthy, live well. Get answers, get connected. Spectrum Generations, specializing in the art of aging.
Life should be celebrated. It's a special day when family and friends gather together to celebrate the life of a loved one. A celebration of life helps us honor our loved one and keep our memories alive. Whether you're planning a traditional funeral, a creative celebration of life, or a blend of both, at Knowlton Hewins Roberts, we are truly committed to meet the personal and unique needs of you and your family. Knowlton Hewins Roberts. Visit us online or visit our 2 locations in Augusta and Winthrop.
Tee off against senior hunger during Spectrum Generations' 11th annual Meals on Wheels golf tournament, Monday, June 10th at Natanis Golf Course. Enjoy an afternoon of golf followed by a barbecue banquet, auction, and awards presentation. For more information or to register, go to spectrumgenerations.org or call 207-620-1677. Proceeds help provide Meals on Wheels to more than 1,600 homebound seniors throughout Central Maine. Space is limited, so call 207-620-1677 to register today.
Welcome back to Mature Lifestyles. We're having a wonderful discussion today of how you can have fun outside, also grow some great foods, and we have 2 wonderful guests who tell you why that's important. When we left, we were talking a little bit about the great nutritional side of having your own garden, if you will, in a small container, but we didn't get to talk very much about herbs. Do you want to talk to us about why that's an important part? And you can tell us how to grow those.
Herbs are a great thing because those can even be grown inside on a windowsill, and they need probably...
Could they be grown year-round on a windowsill?
If you have a sunny windowsill, they won't grow as well as outdoors, but you can get them to live through the season.
A little touch in the winter maybe, but the best time being outdoors. But go ahead, what can we grow?
They're, out of all the container gardens, I would say they probably take up the least space. You don't need... you need just a very small.
They're also pretty, aren't they?
They are, and you can just snip here and snip there. It's a great way to reduce salt and sodium. If you have the herbs there, you can, snip
Talk a little bit about that.
I'm thinking of parsley.
Yes.
Specifically, flavor with parsley. I think people are looking for flavor, not necessarily salt.
And salt is in so much
processed
processed
so much.
food. You can't escape it, can you? So when you do your own cooking, it's an opportunity to use something else for the flavor,
With
not
a flavor.
salt.
And
So parsley is good.
Parsley is very good. Recommended daily allowances is 2,300 milligrams, and that's about a teaspoon of salt.
Wow.
And that, if you eat any kind of processed or canned
If
foods,
you ever read the labels, you'll be shocked.
you're
won't
already
you?
over the limit. So
Here's a good way to cut back without feeling deprived.
it's a great way. Chives is another thing that you can, snip and use. Just throw some in.
You must feel like a great chef when you're doing that. You have the fresh herbs right there. You snip them and put them right on. So it's a great flavoring. It can help you more nutritious because you're not having so much salt.
You're not having so much
So
salt.
talk to us about growing these herbs in these containers then.
Well,
Are they easy?
Yeah, many of them are very easy to grow. Parsley is great in a container, chives, basil, rosemary, oregano, all of those are great choices for containers.
And they're clearly much better when they're fresh, aren't they?
Yes, the
flavor
flavor is
must
just wonderful. And to me, if you only have a very small amount of sunny space, then I think it's a wonderful way to use a container garden.
A good place to start. If you're a little intimidated by the spinach, you can start with the parsley.
Well, but the herbs, they have such high impact for a very small volume of growing space. But in your food, even if it's just a regular, whether it's a salad or a broiled chicken, something like that, it just has tremendous flavor impact. And it's nice to just open up your door, snip a few leaves off, snip it right onto your food, and it looks great.
And so the same things apply, though, the fresh containers as well as the fresh soil and this sort of thing.
The right size containers. So again, you wouldn't be looking at a large 5-gallon container. You'd be looking at smaller containers. But you can get a long window box and put a number of herbs in there.
I was going to ask you, can they grow side by side? Do they need their own container, or does it make any difference?
They can grow side by side. One of the things we haven't mentioned is that you do need to make sure that you're vigilant about watering anything that's growing in the
containers. Talk to us about water. When do you water? Every day? Every other day?
In the height of summer, it can be every day, or even for a large container with a tomato tomato in it, it might be twice a
You
day.
don't wait till you see it wilted and then try to
No,
revive
then
it.
it's usually hard for the plant to come back. And so you do have to be more careful because these light potting mixes, they dry out very quickly. And once you have a lot of plant material growing, it will draw a lot of water through. So just to have that as part of your schedule, check it before you go out in the morning and check in the afternoon. And just keep an eye on it, but that will help the plants grow very well for a longer period of time.
Well, we've talked about some things are better suited to containers,
Yes.
and we've talked about many of them, the greens and the tomatoes. And if you want more than that, there are other places to go get them where you're still getting fresh foods. It's
Right.
not like growing it yourself, but what else can one do to supplement the good nutrition?
Well, there are a number of farmers markets that are available all throughout the state, different places, and the farm, they bring the farm
you.
to us. So their vegetables and fruits will change throughout the growing season. So there's between May and October, say,
Right.
there's quite a variety. And then, later in the season, you'll get to your root vegetables, which are great for your stews and, your soups and stuff like that once it gets
I bet you're a
colder.
good cook. I can tell by the way you talk about the seasonings and the flavorings and that sort of thing, as well as your face lights up when you're talking about these good foods in the rainbow. What else should we include? We haven't talked about that whole, we've got green, we've got red.
Blues and purples.
I was going to see, is there a blue? But
Yeah, they're a little tough.
Well, eggplant.
purple, we'll take purple.
Eggplant is in the blue and purple.
Okay.
Blueberries, which
Okay.
the blueberries are
Right.
so famous for the antioxidant properties.
Okay. Do you grow fruit in these containers, like berry bushes, like strawberries? That's not a bush, but a strawberry plant. Do you do that?
You can, but it's a little bit harder. Those are perennial. Usually those are managed as perennial, so they live
Got
from
it.
year to year.
So that's not the ideal thing
Right.
for a container.
Because the container, if you leave it outside during the growing season, it stays outdoors,
Right.
and it gets cold from all
Sometimes you see
sides.
advertising these magazine inserts, these hanging things with
Yes.
strawberries coming out the side, but that's
yes.
not what we're talking about. We're
Right.
talking about growing from seedlings and
Well,
an
right.
annual rather than a perennial.
Usually that's easier. There's more management involved if you're trying to grow a perennial in a
Got it.
container. You have to
All right.
insulate it from the cold.
But that doesn't keep us from eating the blues, which
That's
are the
right.
blueberries.
And we've got lots of places to buy blueberries
Oh,
in Maine.
yes,
so
and
that's
farmers
great.
markets must be overflowing with those at certain times
At
of the
certain
year.
times,
Yes,
yes. And
our
that's-
roadside stands, of course.
Yes.
The blues are great for immune function, which again, as we age, our immune system gets more vulnerable. So they're fabulous for boosting your immune function.
Wow, so you really have covered the rainbow. Is there anything we've left out?
White fruits and vegetables, like your onions and especially your mushrooms.
Okay.
Mushrooms actually, or the nutrients in them will actually activate killer B and T cells,
Wow.
which so they can actually attack the disease cells and help you that way. Antioxidants will catch your free radicals. That's the term. But the white fruits and
Is
vegetables.
cauliflower part of the white you're including, or is that
it would be.
somewhere else?
Cauliflower is where did they kind of put that with the cruciferous.
Okay, so it's good for
So
you too.
even though it is white.
But it
it's
sounds like
included
the
in a-
whole range of vegetables are critical to your diet.
They
add
are.
fiber and
Yeah.
they make you healthy. And what you're telling us about, they're fun ways to grow some of them.
Yes.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's great fun to watch things grow. And maybe you don't have the big garden you had with the acres of corn and this sort of thing. So container garden can satisfy that yearning to garden a little
Right,
bit.
right.
What's your favorite part, or the biggest surprise you've ever had when you tried to grow something? Do you ever have anything go wrong?
Gosh, well, I have. I've made
You
probably
ever kill
all.
anything?
I think I've made every possible mistake that could be made. I've
That's
had,
okay,
I've had
isn't it?
plants in containers that are too small. I haven't watered them enough.
Yes.
Those are some of the biggest issues that I see.
But you learned from those, didn't you?
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
plants are forgiving. You can go get another
You can go get
tomato
another one,
plant.
and there's always next year.
Exactly. So do you have a party when your tomatoes are ready to invite people over? That's another idea you could
We
do.
don't, but we have small children, so we spend a lot of time eating tomatoes in the garden too.
Oh,
so.
yes. Your children, oh, that's, is it, you're a grandparent, maybe your grandchildren come over. Is it fun to
Yes.
do with them?
It is.
And having asked you that, this is so much fun. You can see I want to keep talking about it. Thank you so much for teaching us about fun hobbies and good eating habits. Stay tuned though, we have a big event coming up you're going to want to know more about. Be right back.
Spectrum Generations. Live healthy, live well. Get answers, get connected. Spectrum Generations, specializing in the art of aging.
Excuse me, begging your indulgence, sir. I'm a wealthy foreign dignitary, and I would like your help moving a vast sum of money into this country. I would let you keep most of it, but I would like to have some of it back, too. Please, take this certified cashier's check as a portion of the transaction. Get lost.
Scams like these don't work as well in person. That's why most of them are done online.
Tee off against senior hunger during Spectrum Generations' 11th annual Meals on Wheels golf tournament, Monday, June 10th at Natanis Golf Course. Enjoy an afternoon of golf followed by a barbecue banquet, auction, and awards presentation. For more information or to register, go to spectrumgenerations.org or call 207-620-1677. Proceeds help provide Meals on Wheels to more than 1,600 homebound seniors throughout Central Maine. Space is limited, so call 207-620-1677 to register today.
Welcome back. We have a very special message for you today from Maggie Tardif. She's the center director from our Cohen Center here in Hollowell, but she's got big plans. It's called a Healthy Aging Expo. Is that correct?
That's right,
All right.
Libby.
What is that?
Well, this is our 5th annual Healthy
Right.
Aging, Learning, and Living Expo. It'll be held on June 7th this year at the Cohen Center at 22 Town Farm Road in Hollowell.
Okay.
And it's from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. And it is absolutely free to the public.
Okay.
So we've got about 35 vendors coming in this year.
What kinds of vendors do you have?
Well, our presenting sponsor this year is Netto Chiropractic and Wellness Center.
Oh, good. Do you get a free sample of
Oh,
chiropractic
I
work?
am hoping so.
Okay,
And they're going to
good.
be setting up a balance station and a spinal analysis station.
wonderful.
We also have Maine General back again this year, and they're going to be bringing back their ever so popular We Fit. And people just, they play
Yes,
wheel.
of
It's so
course.
much fun, which is, again, is another balance. You can come in and you can get free spinal analysis. We've got free upper body massage, 5 minutes. I plan on being in that line, time permitting. We have hand reflexology going on. We have housing options.
Everything.
We do, it's a little bit of everything to help you live well, age well, stay happy and stay healthy. And it's kind of funny, Libby, about 5 years ago, I said, oh, I'm gonna do a little health fair. And I thought I'd invite a few, so I sent out about 35 invitations to different businesses in our area saying, hey, come join us for the local population. Well, they all wanted in.
They all came.
They all wanted in. So now we're in our 5th year of it,
Right.
and it's going great.
And your audience keeps coming back because they know when they come, they're in for a good day.
They are, and it's all free. Everything
there food there
abs-
too?
There is.
All
We
right.
have Spectrum Generations has Cohen on the Meadows, which is our catering and banquet
Yes.
facility. And they set up an amazing barbecue out back. So, and you know, of course, we have them out back, down below, and the windows are open, and all the barbecue smells are coming up and through the building. And
So you're
it's
getting your
great.
massages, you're learning about health and housing options, as well as having a good time with friends.
Absolutely, we encourage our caregivers to come in. There's going to be a lot of caregiver options there. Everybody, what do you do with mom and dad when they
All
move in
right,
with you?
so Maggie, you're so excited. You've made us all excited. So see you on June 7th.
June 7th.
June 7th at the Cohen Center. Join us.
Mature Lifestyle is made possible by Knowlton Hewins Roberts Funeral Homes and Cremation Service. Our homes are warm and welcoming, and we take care of you and your family like we would our own. Call us anytime. We are here for you.
You're watching TWC TV, only on Time Warner Cable.